Good evening, everyone. My name is Luana Mascarenhas, and I'm a dietitian by profession. I'm here today to speak on an important topic with regards to nutrition in the autism spectrum. Since this is a very vast topic, today we're going to cover only a short aspect of the nutrients that are of importance on the spectrum. Before I begin for today, we'll wait for a couple of minutes for people to join in. And in the interim, I will begin to introduce myself. As I said, my name is Luana and I'm a dietitian by profession. I'm also the founder of Calorie Nutrition Clinics. Um, I am also a PhD scholar into research at the Institute of Physical Activity and Nutrition in Deakin University in Melbourne. So I'm joining you from Australia today, and I'm going to be presenting a little bit of my knowledge on for the past 9 years that I've been working with autistic kids. And my experience so far has been based on a lot of scientific reading and research in this area. And I'm hoping that this would be like a good value addition to your knowledge on nutrition specific for the spectrum and what is scientifically proven to help these particular kids on the spectrum. So, without further ado, I would like to start my presentation. All right. So, as we know, autism is a very complex condition and it does have certain developmental, and neurological aspects to it. And it typically appears during the first 3 years of life. It affects the brain function and particularly areas in terms of social interaction and communication skills in kids. So, as a dietitian, I view that nutrition has a potential to play a role in the autism management. All right. So, a lot of the symptoms on the spectrum can be managed to a certain extent by the kind of diet. Diet plays an influence in this. So, today we're going to look at just diet as a part of an entire holistic approach for this. And while certain diets are out there and more commonly known in terms of like gluten free and casein free, there is a lot of limited research between the link between diet and autism. So, we're going to dive a little into specific nutrients that can help and break it down to make it a little more clear so that if you are dealing with kids on the spectrum, you would know better which foods you could include and how they could be helpful to these kids. So, is nutrition key? Yes, nutrition is key. And there is a lot of growing evidence that nutrition and lifestyle interventions can be very supportive. And personalized nutrition is focusing on getting the right balance of the nutrients and also with regards to like food sensitivities that these kids face, like texture changes and stuff like that, that it plays a big role in terms of their growth and development as well. Right. So we're going to be looking at that from that aspect that nutrition does play a role. So, not to dwell too much on the common signs and symptoms, but because this is most commonly seen, but I'll quickly glance through this. Where in early infancy, we do see signs like reduced eye contact, lack of a response to like calling their name or indifference to caregivers. Above the age of 2 years, we do see them becoming a little bit more withdrawn. We see symptoms in terms of aggression. They lose their language skills that they had already acquired. And each child on the spectrum does have like a very different and unique pattern of behavioral changes and level of severity as well. But the most common symptoms are also out underlined here in terms of giggling, laughter, repetitive behavior, and um, anger spells. All right. So the symptoms which are more related to the diet could be in terms of food intolerances and allergies, food sensitivities, irritability, hyperactivity, the focus and attention, repetitive behavior, giggling, aggressive behavior, skin related issues like rashes, and digestion, constipation, loose motions, and sleep. So, since nutrition is what you eat, digest, and absorb, and this is then delivered to the cells, right, which use it in terms of nutrients. And this process can be a little bit faulty or inefficient, and that therefore the nutrition demand increases in these kids. So imagine if the gut is, or your stomach is, where all of the food is being digested and then breaking down into simple nutrients, and these nutrients that then need to go all over the body and help you with several functions. If this particular function is compromised, you're not going to be able to get the benefit of the nutrients that you're consuming in your diet, right? So in these cases, sometimes supplements are also recommended, but we try to put supplements as a supplementary source and try to focus on diet as well as natural sources, so that we can get them from the most bioactive and bioavailable sources in the body. All right, so please remember that even though there are a number of recommendations of supplements to give to kids, the dosage is very, very important. The frequency is very important. Many of these are micronutrients which are required in minor quantities, and excess of this could lead to toxicity as well, which can have a different effect on the body. So you want to always take a supplement in the recommendation of a medical professional, which is a doctor or a registered dietitian who really knows how to prescribe and is legally allowed to do so. All right, so please do not try to self medicate your child. Coming to the symptoms which are more specific, we also see GI problems, which is a gastrointestinal problems or the stomach problem. So we do see a lot of acid reflux, constipation, esophagitis, which is like a growth of a certain yeast or bacteria in the food tract, diarrhea, and abdominal pain, which is common with relation to food, which can affect the food and the nutrient absorption. There's also mealtime behavioral issues, which are like sensory issues with food with regards to the palatability and the dislike towards a certain textures of food, and also taste or even visually. All right, they don't like the way food looks, so you need to make it more attractive and kind of engaging for them. They also have underdeveloped oral motor skills, so which means like the amount of chewing that they do, they could also be daydreaming very frequently and end up in keeping the food in a pocket in their mouth and not chewing it. So these are certain things that we also have to look in, which could affect the eating aspect of the diet. The time and behavior at the table is also something that is why nutrition is important, and also because kids can be very picky in general with regards to the kind of food that they like or they dislike. There's also impaired focus while eating because they have a short attention span, so they get distracted. So you have to bring their focus back to the plate and help them to be more mindful of like the food that they're eating, and that's the task at hand that they need to pay attention to. There's also a lack of communication where they're unable to tell you whether they're hungry or they're full. The hunger satiety communication is impaired, and that could also lead to a lot of nutritional deficiency because they're not eating enough of calories that they should be eating. And also they might be ending up eating smaller portions and intake because they take too long to finish a meal, right? So these are the challenges that we see with regards to like these kids eating. All right, so how can nutrition help? Okay, and what are the good areas in which we can focus and we can help the ASD condition? So the role of food is not to cure. Okay, so it cannot create or cure, but it can correct and it can improve the quality of life. Okay, and additionally, because certain symptoms and food and nutritional status go hand in glove, and also growth and development go hand in glove with nutrition. So in these aspects, we can definitely help the quality of life of these kids, and food and eating strategies can also help with combating certain symptoms of the spectrum. Okay, so to speak a little bit in depth of which nutrient helps in which function, we need to understand that what are the several functions which nutrition can play a role in. So we start with the brain development and functioning. All right, so you want to make sure that your child's brain gets the sufficient nutrients. So the vitamins, the minerals, the amino acids, the essential fatty acids, and calories that you get from food, right? So all of this is important for the brain function and development. It starts right from the womb of the mother, but it goes on even in the early stages, right up till from infancy to toddlerhood to when the kid grows up to the maximum adulthood, right? So the brain is continuously developing, their organs are developing, their musculature is developing. So they need nutrition for this. So that's why it's very important. The second most important factor is also because of detoxification. All right. So in detoxification, the gut health is very, very important. So you need to be able to remove out toxins from the blood, and all products of food, like food as for example, if I eat an egg, right, the egg goes down into my system, is broken down, and it will give me certain nutrients, but there'll be also waste products. So these waste products need to come out of the body, and if they don't end up coming out of the body, they form certain toxins, and these toxins are what trigger neurochemicals, kind of signals to the brain, and that kind of creates these behavioral changes that we see. All right, so the gastrointestinal tract and the gut health is very, very important for one, the absorption of the nutrients, two, for removal of the toxins as well. All right. The third thing is the immune system function. So again, we require vitamins and minerals for the immune system to work well. And a poor immunity can be can lead to the kid falling sick very often. It could also lead to development of allergies, like several food allergies or dust allergies or any other allergies which are triggered because of a weakened immune system. So this is also a key area as to which we need to be focusing on the diet so that the immune function is good. All right. The next is erythropoiesis. Now, erythropoiesis is basically a process in which oxygen is delivered to each and every cell in the body. All right. So this happens through the formation of RBCs, which are your red blood cells which form your blood. So this happens in the bone marrow, and then the RBCs transfer oxygen all over the body. So this process is kind of impaired, or it's not working properly in these kids. And so you want to be able to help the oxygen delivery, because oxygen is very, very essential for certain functioning of each cell in the body. So without oxygen, we breathe oxygen for that very reason, right? So without oxygen, there can be an impairment in like the function, the growth, the development of each of the organs. All right. The last but not a very small factor, it's a very, very large factor. So we need to reduce the neuromuscular excitability and the neurotransmission. Now, in layman's language, this is basically the signals that go to the brain, which excite the brain and which calm the brain. So this particular kind of transmission is based on, like I said, the toxins can help in the creating the hormones which excite, send signals of excitement to the brain, or they can, certain foods which are good nutrients can help in calming the brain. So that's where we need to find a right balance with regards to the nutrition. All right, so this is an example of a food pyramid where this is like highlighting, it's called an hourglass approach. So if you look at the top, it is the food that is, we need to be reducing. And if you look at the bottom, it's in terms of the nourishment, where how we need to be increasing these particular foods in the diet. Now, from a lot of research, we can definitely say that gluten, casein, soy are certain products which form something known as an opioid or this is a toxin that the end product of these particular compounds form, and this causes like a lot of the neurological symptoms in these kids. This has been studied the most vastly, but with that being said, it is not a blanket for every kid to be off this. You need to analyze the symptoms of the spectrum the kid is facing and then decide whether yes, elimination of gluten, casein and soy will help them. All right, then there are certain food additives which have been studied vastly to produce like any artificial flavors or synthetic products, or even like sugar alcohols that are added, like genetically modified organisms that are added, definitely lead to number of symptoms of the spectrum. All right, so they need to be removed. Then there are products which are called phenol, salicylate, and oxalates, which are like byproducts again from the foods that we eat. These also tend to aggravate certain symptoms of the spectrum. So these need to be removed. All right, and any food that has like pesticides, chemicals added to it, we see that all of these also have an effect on the body. All right. Now, increasing is what is good. So, we need to look at grains, we need to look at nuts and seeds, we need to look at fruits, fats and oils, which is like avocado, flaxseed, olive oil, coconut oil. These are the ones that have been seen to have like a lot of improvement in terms of calming down the inflammation in the body. Okay, which is something that most kids have. All right, most of the kids on the spectrum have. So, you want to include more of these fats. You want to include protein because it's so important for these kids to develop a good immunity, to for their growth, for their development. A good quality protein is very, very essential. Vegetables, because of their antioxidant properties, you cannot get them from any other food sources. So you definitely want to include fruits and vegetables, and also things that have been which are very basic, like fermented products, like probiotic rich food, which help the gut health. All right, and fresh food, not packaged, processed, canned, tinned, all of this, like none of this. Good quality of water, good amount of water, that's all that we need to increase in their diet. All right. So now we're going to go a little more in depth of this. We've seen the hourglass approach. We're going to focus on the bottom of the hourglass as to what we need to be including. And we definitely want to look at food sources of these particular and why they're good foods. And I will talk a little bit more depth into this. All right. So the first particular food item that we're going to talk about is probiotics. So probiotics are nothing but good bacteria. So if you know that when you have something known as an antibiotic, it is a drug that is given to kill bad bacteria or bad virus, or antivirals are given for bad virus or yeast production. So in these kids, yeast production is aggravated in the gut. It's also the reason why they have a lot of the yeast infections on the skin, which is caused by candida, a common yeast. So you want to kind of control these. So giving good bacteria, it's like a natural defense mechanism where the good bacteria fight the bad bacteria for you and end up lining your entire gut or your stomach lining or intestines lining, and they help in the better absorption of the nutrients and take away or destroy the bad bacteria. All right, so that's the whole aspect of giving probiotics. So probiotics are believed to have a good influence on the gut, and they promote these good bacteria growth, and it can help the overall health. It can improve the brain function, and there are many mechanisms through which all of this happens. And the first thing that is known to be very common is by elimination of the opioids that are formed. So if these toxins are being produced by XYZ foods that you are consuming, what probiotics do is they will remove these toxins from the blood. So that's the first way they help. The second way they help is basically by strengthening the gut lining. So there is something known as a leaky gut that forms in kids, where in your intestine you have finger-like projections, and in between these finger-like projections there are several receptors. So whatever food you eat, when it breaks down into a nutrient, it goes and attaches to these receptors on this finger-like projection, and then it's supposed to be absorbed into the body from there into the blood. But what happens is over time, these finger like projections start to club up. And when they start to club up, they form bigger gaps in between. And so instead of attaching to these receptor cells, the molecules pass through the gaps and go into the blood before they're supposed to be released into the blood. And this is when your body finds that there is something foreign, there is something wrong, and it will release an opposite effect, right? To kind of it will be on high alert that there are some invaders in my body, and it will trigger out an inflammatory response. So this is called a leaky gut. So probiotics, what they do is they make sure that this leaky gut does not happen. They kind of help in the lining of the intestine and protect the integrity of the intestine so that the absorption happens very systematically. All right. And the last approach or the theory that is there, that how probiotics can be helping, is because of their anti-inflammatory properties. So the anti-inflammatory properties could actually counter the inflammation and the immune response in the kids that have the ASD, and even behavioral problems are observed to be reduced with regards to this. All right, by the they say that the gut is the second brain of your body. So there is a direct gut brain axis which controls the signals that go from your gut to your brain, and your behavior is influenced by them. So this is a theory which has been studied not just in autism spectrum, but in general with regards to anxiety, depression, all these conditions, that the gut is very, very important, and probiotics play an important role in mental health as well. So we want to encourage probiotic consumption, so that we can kind of balance out these three areas. One is the good bacteria to increase and the bad bacteria or the toxins to come out. The second is to help the integrity and the digestion and absorption of nutrients. And the third is so that the signals going to the brain are inducing the happy hormones, the calm hormones, and not the hormones that aggravate aggression, anxiety, and depression, and certain other neurochemical signals which are not optimal, right? Which are toxins, basically. All right, so the benefits seen we've discussed, the mechanism we've discussed, and basically the bad bacteria that are commonly seen are the ones that are listed here on the screen, which is Clostridium, Candida, which is in yeast, and there seemed to be a reduction in Lactobacillus, which is supposed to be the best bacteria or the probiotic bacteria, which kind of help. So your goal is to increase this Lactobacillus bacteria, all right, in these cells. So how do we achieve this? How do we get this? Like, of course, there are supplements which are very, very concentrated forms, but let's look at supplements supplementary to the diet, and let's look at including the foods that are rich in these sources in these kids' diets. So the first thing is kefir. Kefir is nothing but you get like a starter, which is similar to how we do a starter of curd. But since we know that many of the kids are lactose intolerant and we want to keep them dairy free most often, you can do kefir even in water. You can put the starter culture in water, and you can make a drink of kefir and include that in maybe your rice milk porridge or something that you're giving your kid. This could be included. It's a good probiotic. All right, the next thing is kimchi. So kimchi again is like fermented cabbage. All right, it's similar to that. So it is like, I'm sure the internet is full of recipes of how to make kimchi at home, and you can definitely try out this and include it like how we have pickles, but it is not a preservative rich and chemical added kind of pickle, but it can be given in the form of like pickles with small amounts. All right. Then the next thing is sauerkraut. Again, this is similar to kimchi, but it's a different process of fermentation. So most of these foods are kind of fermented foods, and these are the ones that kind of help with the probiotic, because the fermentation process is where the good bacteria start to grow. So the substrate, which is like the cabbage or the vegetable that you're using, is the prebiotic. It's the food for the good bacteria, and the fermentation process allows the good bacteria to keep growing. All right. The next thing is pickled veggies. So even like pickling carrots, beetroots, things like this, like in like regular vinegar or apple cider vinegar, can promote this fermentation process. Even garlic, because it's so rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory of like nutrients. So this can be pickled and it can be given to the kid in meals or mashed into their food and given. Kombucha is a drink which is a prebiotic drink, and again, this will serve as the food for the good bacteria to grow in the gut. So you get very unflavored, no added, plain mother culture kombucha, which can be encouraged to be consumed by these kids. And the last is miso, which is also a soy a product, but so we don't really include it as one of the primary sources, because soy can have certain impacts on the symptoms of the spectrum as well, but we look more at the other sources first. The next important nutrient is that of omega-3 fatty acids, which is a type of fat in the diet. So studies have suggested that the omega-3 fatty acids have a significant role in the development and functioning of the brain. And it does positively impact behavior associated with the spectrum, as well as the social skills, communication in these kids, but not other symptoms. So if you find that the kid has more of communication issues, social skill issues, then this is the nutrient of importance as well in their diet. Okay, so the National Institute of Health has suggested that 30% of the total calories should be coming from these two particular good fats, which are called EPA and DHA. I'm not going to take their full forms because they're very complicated, long names. But if you remember EPA and DHA, these are the two compounds in the or type of fatty acids which are really, really important for improving focus and attention. All right. So the sources of these are basically fatty fish. So by fatty fish, I mean fish like mackerel, salmon, tuna, sardines, trout. All of these fish are the ones which have these naturally. All right. So you can encourage your kid to eat more of this if you are a pescatarian or a non-vegetarian. But for vegetarians or vegans, there is definitely the option of having ALA, which is a precursor of these EPA and DHA. So before EPA and DHA can be produced, there is a major mother compound called ALA. So this is found in flax seeds. Flax seeds are the most abundant in form of ALA. We also have seaweed or algae, which has a little amount of omega-3 fatty acids in the form of ALA. Walnuts are another nuts which are very high in these content of omega-3 fatty acids, as well as seeds like chia seeds, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. All of these have good fats in them. So you can definitely include these. All right. Moving on to the next nutrient of importance is zinc. So zinc definitely is essential, and it does influence the brain function as well as the neurotransmitter regulation. And it is a mineral, so it is a micronutrient. It's required in very small amounts. So hence, there's not too much of research done where you can justify that you should be giving a supplement and how much of it should be given. There's still a need for a lot more of study in this area. So it's the safest to kind of give it from the food sources because we know it is beneficial. So how does zinc improve? So it does help with certain neurotransmitters. It helps improving the communication and behavioral symptoms. It also is a enzyme for several reactions that happen in the body. All right. So enzyme or a cofactor is basically something that speeds up a like speeds up a task. So say suppose A needs to convert to B. If something can make it go 2x the same speed, that is called an enzyme or a cofactor. So that's what zinc is in most cases, and it helps in these normal functions of the body. So you want to give more of zinc for this aspect, as well as because of its antioxidant properties. It has been seen to help in terms of eye contact, textural problems in kids, as well as the food tolerance, in terms of sensitivities where they don't like the food taste, texture, the odor. Zinc plays an important role in kind of dulling this down or calming this down so that they're not really, really sensitive. As well as it helps in the brain health, the eye contact, immunity, muscle tone, and anxiety in these kids as well. So what are the good sources for zinc? The good sources of zinc include walnuts, nuts and seeds. Definitely all nuts and seeds. Seafood and shellfish, yes, but we have to take it with a little bit of caution. And eggs, very good sources. All our dals are very good sources. So lentils are good sources. Beans, which are our pulses, legumes are good sources. Oats is an excellent source. And camel milk. Now, with regards to camel milk, I would like to say that although camel milk is seen to have certain benefits as regards to regular milk, but we have to understand that one, it is extremely rare. Two, it is very new and it is being tested, being researched, but it is not very well established that it has like no long term effects. Like all the studies which are done are very short studies and have been given just for 1 month or 2 months. So you don't know a long term effect of something like this. All right. So you want to go with stuff which is like nuts and seeds and dals, which are habitually had over several years, and they have been practiced as well in several like for several years, and these have definitely lesser side effects or not shown to have any bad effects in these kids. All right. The next nutrient of importance is the vitamin B complex. So in B complex, we have specifically B6, B12, and B9, which is folate. All right. So research has suggested that all these three have some particular role to play. So we'll take it one by one. So the first one is B6. Now, most studies have been done with B6 and magnesium going together. All right. So when they've given together, the combination is seen to help a lot of the symptoms of autism. So there's no individual study that is done on just B6 without magnesium. So again, this is specific to certain symptoms of the spectrum. So you want to give it to the kids who are only facing certain particular symptoms. And this can be analyzed very well by a medical professional or a dietitian. So things like behavior, communication, social interactions, there have been studies done where B6 is checked, the B6 levels are checked, magnesium levels are checked, and there has been a deficiency, and then improving those levels have seen a benefit to the symptom, or the symptom has reduced. All right. So in addition to B6, there's also B12, which is very, very important for all of your energy production cycles. So it has a huge role to play with the neuro signals, the signals that go to the brain. All right. The next one is folate or B9. So again, folate and B9 helps in improving verbal communication. So if there is a lack of speech or a delay in speech, B9 has been seen to help. Also, it's interesting to note that most women need to start taking folic acid supplements right from when they are planning a pregnancy, because before you get to know that you're pregnant, like you might have crossed the first month mark or the 4 weeks mark, and this is where the neural tube is being developed in these kids. So the neural tube is very, very important because it's what forms the from where the brain of the child grows. So if there is a deficiency in folic acid, there is a defect that is caused in this neural tube, and that can lead to several repercussions in terms of mental health and in terms of the development of the brain. All right. So it is very, very essential right from the womb when you're planning, right up to the stage where the kid's brain is developing. That's how essential folic acid is. All right. So coming to the sources. Now, most of green leafy vegetables, broccoli, are really, really rich in these. We also have beans, which are really good, and some seeds like sunflower seeds. The fatty fish does contain a lot of B12. Eggs do contain, and poultry like chicken, turkey, they also contain most of these B vitamins. All right. So you can include these in the kids' diet as well. Next nutrient of importance is magnesium. So magnesium has been suggested to help certain genetic mutations that happen in the kid. So this leads to a deficiency of magnesium. So a lot of the research that is there with regards to magnesium is because a link of the kids have lesser amount of serum magnesium or magnesium in their blood levels, and it is important for the brain activity, and that's why it is suggested that we should be giving a little more of magnesium in terms of the foods that are rich in magnesium. All right, so it is safe to include from dietary sources itself. There's not enough research to suggest that you should be giving a magnesium supplement to these kids. All right, so you want to give them green leafy vegetables, which are a rich source, dark chocolate, which is a rich source, cashews are a rich source, oats is a rich source, avocado is a rich source. Now, again, these foods are contain different amounts. It depends also on certain other symptoms, like if they're going to turn into phenols or salicylate, any of these foods, and they're facing that symptom of the spectrum, you might want to control how much of these foods you're giving as well. So again, a dietitian will be able to tell you this specifically, but just for you to know, these are certain foods which are good in magnesium and can be included in the diet. The next nutrient of importance is vitamin D. So vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin. It can definitely be got from sun's rays, and that's what we all encourage parents to do, is to first get a little bit of sunshine every single day in the morning. And it is very, very important for the brain development. Okay, we cannot emphasize enough on how much of a big role vitamin D plays for your brain health as well as the bone health. So for growth and development of these children as well, vitamin D is essential. And most studies have found that kids on the spectrum have a deficiency of vitamin D. and most Indians today have a deficiency of vitamin D as well. So we need to be kind of addressing this. All right, so vitamin D supplementation is also found to improve, but again, how much of it needs to be given and stuff will be recommended by a medical practitioner or your pediatrician or your dietitian. So you want to include foods that are rich in this, so that some way, in addition to the sunlight, you'll be able to get a little bit more of vitamin D. So mushrooms are found to be really good. Egg yolks have vitamin D. Fatty fish, yet again, has vitamin D. And fortified cereals like oats is fortified with vitamin D today. So these are the ones that you can include in your kids' diet as well. So if you notice, till now there are a few foods which are repeating in most of the categories of the nutrients. So these should stand out to you as foods that you should be including because of the number of overlapping nutrients that they consume, they contain. All right. So we're approaching towards the end. So next we have iron. So iron is also very, very essential for, like we spoke about, the carrying of the oxygen. So iron is the molecule in the body which helps the carrying of the oxygen. It's also very important for neurotransmitter production like dopamine and serotonin. You may have heard of these two neurochemicals which help with the feel good hormone. They're called the feel good hormones, and they help in the behavior and cognition. So iron also helps certain enzyme functions in the brain, and it also helps with the oxygen delivery, as we spoke about it. So we definitely want to make sure that our kids are getting sufficient iron and are not anemic. So the best way to do this is checking their hemoglobin levels, also doing an iron studies, which will tell you their serum iron levels, how much of the iron is bound to the protein, which is called their TIBC levels, and their saturation as well. So this would be able to tell you whether the kids are iron deficient, and then you can include more foods that are rich in iron in terms of green leafy vegetables like spinach, broccoli, ragi, which is cereal, um, also eggs, also fortified cereals, oats. All right, and certain poultry, which is like chicken and stuff, also contains iron. The last nutrient that I would like to talk about is antioxidant. Now, this is a very vast group. So, as you can see from the picture, there's like you can look at maybe 10 or more foods that are already there. All right. So, antioxidants are basically some molecules that combat free radicals in the body. So, free radicals are, think of them as these scavengers who are going to kind of destroy cells in the body, and antioxidants are what come in and destroy these bad cells so that they can't destroy your good cells. They destroy these bad free radicals so that they can't destroy your good cells. So that is why we should be including more of these antioxidants in the diet. So the compounds such as vitamin C, vitamin E, glutathione, coenzyme Q10, they're all responsible to help these cells. So a cell is a basic functional unit of your body. So we are made up of millions and millions of cells. So we want to preserve these cells, the health. We want to support the cellular growth and development. That is what that is what forms each organ, your bone, your tissue, your muscle. Everything is formed from cells. So you want to make sure that the cell health is really good. So definitely including more of these antioxidant rich foods has a benefit for growth and development. So the best way to do this is to give your kid a lot of fruits and vegetables. Citrus fruits are good. They contain antioxidants. Green leafy vegetables are good. Broccoli is good. Olives and olive oil is good for the antioxidants as well. So, like I said, again, you can see certain foods are overlapping in most of the categories, and these are the ones that you should be focusing on, including at least 3 times in a week into the kids' diet. There are innovative ways of how you can do this, and that brings me to my point on how you can overcome the nutrition problems, right? So the first thing is get in touch with a professional, because they will be able to tackle this in a very systematic way in terms of looking at the symptoms, looking at the nutrients, looking at the correlation between both, looking at the blood test, probably working with your pediatrician, and being able to kind of establish a plan that is very customized to the kid, and a routine that will help you understand one elimination, like in that hourglass approach. You have to slowly narrow down and remove out whatever is bad, and then increase what is good. So this all will be able to be done under like a very professional guidance and a systematic approach, as well as looking into the sensory considerations. Like, my kid doesn't like broccoli, but somebody else's kid would love broccoli in terms of the texture. So there's differences, and these are very individual, they cannot be generalized. So you would definitely be able to work better if you understand that this is the symptoms my kid has, this is the considerations that I want to include in the diet, and that's where you can improve their diet. And also there has to be a very slow and gradual introduction of new foods. Like, you cannot expect your kid, like on the first day that they try a new food, to like it. It takes several encounters, or several kind of visual like aids for them to understand that this food is good. So don't give up in the first time that you try to include something good in their diet and they reject it. You need to try at least 5 to 6 times before they accept it. Secondly, they're watching you. So if you are a good role model, and if you are eating the foods that are healthy, your kid is definitely going to pick up on that practice, and going to think that, oh, I can see an adult who is my caregiver eating this, so it might not be that bad. So maybe it's something that I should do as well. So kids are mirroring your actions, so you definitely want to be also doing the right thing and avoiding the bad foods. Otherwise they're going to feel like you're depriving them, and that will trigger several symptoms, right? Like, for example, you're eating a lot of sugar dense food, and the kid wants the sugar dense food, and then you say, no, this is not for you, but you're eating it, so why are you depriving me of it? And that would trigger a whole tantrum and aggressive behavior. And so these are things that you should consider as well. All right. So again, supplements if necessary, if is a big question as of now. So food can really heal the gut, can really heal the symptoms in terms of reducing the intensity of the symptoms. So you definitely want to help that. And now visual aids, like I said, like making the food more creative, appealing, colorful, things like that, which can catch the attention, grasp the attention and the span while eating. That can be done as well. And addressing sensitivities, allergies that they have, and working with the psychologist, speech therapist in terms of behavioral therapy can definitely help in improving the nutritional status of these kids. So I think with that, it brings me to the end of my session. I would love to know if you have any questions. You can drop them in the chat and I will take a look. And I thank you so much for your attentive listening. So while we're waiting for anybody to ask us a question, if they have any, I would encourage you to definitely ask a question with regards, if it's something specific to your child or somebody that you know or you work with, and any nutrient that can help, or any symptom that you've seen, or any link that you've seen, or questions you have. But just as an overview on what we've spoken, I would definitely encourage you to first have a diary for your child, in which you are listing out the symptoms that you notice, and even the food that you are giving. All right, so there is sometimes a lot of correlation that you can see in terms of 12 p.m. this particular food was given, and the symptom that came following that. So when you do this repeatedly over a period of time, there is a trend that you will start noticing. So automatically you will know which are the foods that you should be eliminating. And one of the most common is something like sugar, or anything that has sugar. I think like this is a given and most of you would know this. But there are also foods like tomatoes. The seeds in tomatoes can cause more of giggling, and that particular symptom, that's because it has salicylates in it, right? So that is something that is not very common and you would not know. So things like this is what you can check. All right, so thank you so much for your attentive listening and having me. And I hope this session has been interesting. And you can always reach out to us at Calorie Nutrition if you'd like guidance personally. And do share a review with us on how you like the session. Thank you so much.